There are new calls for mask mandates in schools as the more contagious Delta variant causes a spike in COVID among children. In Florida, a record number of children are now in the hospital with COVID-19. Joining us now, Florida Senator Rick Scott. Senator, welcome back to Fox News Sunday.
Good morning, Brett.
Senator, we want to talk about COVID in just a bit, but I want to get to this bipartisan infrastructure deal. It's being worked on Capitol Hill. Do you think it can pass? Should it pass? A number of your Republican colleagues have been working to try to get it across the finish line.
Sure. First, Brett, I just want to bring up Coach Bobby Bowden, who just passed away this morning, a legend in Florida, won 2 national championships, and my heart goes out to his family. You know, with regard to the infrastructure, I like infrastructure. I spent $85 billion in my years as governor on roads, bridges, airports, and seaports. But at the same time, I cut taxes and fees 100 times, and it paid off a third of the state debt. We've got to start doing things responsibly. Less than half of this bill has anything to do with roads, bridges, airports, and seaports. And we were promised all along that this thing would be fully paid for. We would not run any deficits. And the Congressional Budget Office came out and said, no, it's going to run over $250 billion. $250 billion. One bill will have $250 billion in deficits. And by the way, Nancy Pelosi has said all along, she will not allow this bill to go through the House unless they get their $5.5 trillion reckless tax and spending bill done at the same time. So let's remember, if you help get this done, you're helping get the $5.5 trillion bill done.
As you've talked about, as governor, you talked a lot about infrastructure, numerous campaigns, you did the same. According to the White House, the American Society of Civil Engineers gave Florida a C grade on its infrastructure report card. A number of bridges and highways in poor condition. Say they call this bill the single largest dedicated bridge investment since construction of the interstate highway system. They've got Florida specifically receiving $13.1 billion in federal aid highway apportion program, $240 million for bridge replacement, and it goes on, the dollar figures for Florida alone. So the question is, by opposing this bill that has been worked on, as I mentioned, by a number of your Republican colleagues, are you preventing Florida from getting some of the federal money to deal with these big problems?
Oh, I'm all for infrastructure. I'm all for roads, bridges, airports, and seaports. Let's do that. Let's just do what we just talked about, roads, bridges, airports, and seaports, and let's do it in a fiscally responsible manner. Let's don't go borrow more money, because let's look at what's happened with inflation. Gas prices are up $1 in a year. Food prices are up. What's it caused by? Government spending that's not paid for. That's what's going on. And by the way, you know, everybody wants to talk about how they want to spend money. No one wants to be honest with the American public. They're raising your taxes. They're raising taxes on Americans, and middle class is going to pay for this. So they want to talk about, oh, yeah, we want to go spend all this money. Here's the candy over here. But now that you have to pay for all that, we don't want to talk about that. And so we were promised this would be paid for. So let's do 2 things. Let's have real infrastructure. Let's live within our means, quit running up the debt. We have almost $30 trillion worth of debt. And by the way, we passed a debt ceiling where we have to have a vote to raise the debt ceiling. They can't spend this money because they're going to borrow more money. So let's be honest with the American public. Spend money on roads, bridges, airports, and seaports. Do it responsibly like I did when I was governor.
Yeah. Senator, you're talking a lot about the deficit and debt. A number of Republicans are, but it wasn't that way under the Trump administration. In fact, if you look at the numbers, the debt went up at the end of fiscal 2020, $26.9 trillion. The Trump administration and Republicans added $6.7 trillion to the debt. That was since President Obama's last budget, 33% increase. Understanding COVID had a big role in that, but there's not a great track record for Republicans recently to tout themselves as deficit debt hawks, and now to be doing it here.
Oh, I did. I paid off. I walked in as governor of Florida in 2011 with a $4 billion budget deficit, a state that had increased its debt every year by over $1 billion. And I, in 8 years, working with the legislature, growing our economy, we paid off a third of state debt. Since I've been up here, I've been talking about the debt, how debt, excessive spending causes your family and the poorest families the most money. It's causing inflation. It's causing ridiculous inflation right now.
You're kind of a lone voice, aren't you? Or one of them.
Oh, no. We had a caucus meeting where we said we're not going to raise the debt ceiling without, all Republican senators said, we will not raise the debt ceiling without structural change.
But my point
That's
is
what we
that
all
you
agreed to
did
do.
under the Trump administration with no strings attached.
I've been up here 2 years, Brett. I am working my tail off. I'm fed up with a government that can't live within their means. Every family in this country has got to figure out how to live within their means. I grew up in a very poor family. My mom had to figure out how to put food on the table without borrowing money. There was nobody that's just going to go throw money at her. So we all have to do it in our personal lives. We have to do it as government. You can do it. Watch how you spend the money. Like on this bill, do it responsibly. Do roads, bridges, airports, and seaports. Don't borrow money.
All right,
grow
Senator,
the economy.
I want to turn to COVID, if I could. Your state has seen a major rise in COVID cases, hospitalizations. This is what the president said this week.
But the state with the lowest vaccination rates are seeing 10 to 20 times as many new cases per 100,000 people. It's moving like wildfire through the unvaccinated community. And it's heartbreaking. Just 2 states, Florida and Texas, account for 1/3 of all new COVID-19 cases in the entire country. If some governors aren't willing to do the right thing to beat this pandemic, then they should allow businesses and universities who want to do the right thing to be able to do it.
Now, Florida makes up 6.5% of the U.S. population, and as the president mentioned, it does account for nearly 22% of the country's new COVID cases. You have 60% of the hospitals saying they could see staffing shortages. You've got 187 children in the hospital there in Florida, which is a record down there. Yet during this time, Governor DeSantis, the Florida governor, signed an executive order barring school districts from forcing kids and students to mask up to protect their freedom to choose. Should he have done that now?
Well, first off, I have a lot of concern for all the people that have gotten COVID. I had COVID, but I also took the vaccine. If you feel comfortable, I think everybody ought to get the vaccine, and you ought to do whatever you can to make sure your family's safe. Here's what I think government ought to do: give us good information. I mean, here's what's been frustrating about this. Since COVID started, it's been all political. Just give us good information. Americans are smart. They'll make good decisions for their families. And we can't go back to fear that kills jobs, fear that shuts down schools, fears that slows everything down, because it hurts all families. Here's what I believe we ought to do. At every level of government, let's be honest. If you feel comfortable, get the vaccine. If you don't, figure out how you're going to keep yourself safe. I mean, that's what I believe we ought to be doing, and I'm gonna do everything I can to tell people, that I've been comfortable with the vaccine. I had COVID. I don't want anybody to get COVID.
Do you think former President Trump and other senior Republicans are doing enough talking about vaccinations and the need for the population to get that to keep people safe?
Well, he got the vaccine. I mean, I've done everything I can to try to make sure people are comfortable getting the vaccine. I think that's what every Republican I know is trying to make sure people get good information, and just tell people, if you feel comfortable, get the vaccine. I mean, I talked to a good friend this week that got sick because he didn't get vaccine, and my heart goes out to him and his family. I hope no one else gets sick. It's I've been blessed. I've got grandkids. I don't want any of them to get sick. So be careful, but let people make their choices. This is not a country where we need people telling us what to do. I love my mom. I hate her telling me what to do. Give me good information. I'll make a good decision.
Speaking of former President Trump, do you believe he's going to run in 2024?
I don't know. I mean, who knows? There's a long list of people that are talking about running in 24. So we'll see. He's raised a lot of money. I know that.
Are you one of those on the list?
I'm not planning to run. I'm the chairman of the National Republican Central Committee right now, working to make sure we get a majority of Republicans back in the Senate so we can start acting fiscally responsible and do the right things for Americans.
Is the former President Trump the leader of your party?
I think the voters are the leaders. Here's what's interesting. I ran as an outsider in 2010, and everybody endorsed my opponent, every Republican in the country, and they all said, "Oh, that all the leaders had chosen him as the heir apparent, and he was the leader of the Republican Party of Florida at the time." I was able to win because I went and I told people what I thought they wanted somebody to do, that's who's going to win. In the next election, the 22 election, 24 election, is who's got the right message and right background for that time. And that's who's going to be, but the voters are the leader of the party.
Well, last thing, you said you are the head of the NRSC. The former president is taking credit for your fundraising. He put out a statement saying that by using his name and likeness, that along with other Republican groups, the National Republican Senatorial Committee raised $51.2 million. He said because of Trump, and the Republican Party is unified behind Trump, and the Patriots continue to fuel this movement. So do you give the former president the credit for that fundraising, and is the party unified behind former President Trump?
Well, first off, there's lots of fathers of success, and failure's an orphan. So and we've done a really good job. There's a lot of people. The president has been helpful, but there's a lot of people that have been helpful. And if you look at Republicans across the country, we're raising money because people are fed up with the Biden agenda. They know it's not good for their families. They don't want open borders, closed schools. They don't want all this inflation. They would like somebody that would stand up to help the Cuban people. So that's why. I mean, that's why we're going to have a great win in 22, and that's why we're raising money.
Senator Scott, we appreciate your time. Thanks for talking to us.
Thanks.